What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to LTH. My name is Abe, and in this series, we are going over how to set up a Homelab, and this episode specifically, we're going to be installing our first virtual machine on our Proxmox server. This is an overview if you're new here. If you'd like to follow this series from the beginning, go look at our playlists. We have a whole playlist in order of these videos. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. We also have a website with step-by-step guides and pictures to help you get through these videos if you have any confusion, as well as a Discord that you can add in the description below. First thing we're going to do is go to whatever the IP address is and a link to your Proxmox machine like we showed in the last episode. The username is root, and then type in whatever password you used. And we're going to click log in. You don't need a subscription for this. If you see this, that is fine. You just click OK. It's a little bit annoying. Before we install our first virtual machine, we are going to cover a couple things real quick. This is your Proxmox environment, right? And one of the things we need to pay attention to is this drop down menus over here, and then the settings panes, and then the settings options themselves, right? And then you just have a task thing down here. So real quick, if you're ever following me through these videos and you get confused because you're looking for a setting in here and yours does not have it, but mine does, look over here and see which box I'm clicked in, because now you can see these options have changed. And if I click local again, these options have changed as well. So the workflow in Proxmox is kind of left to right and from top down. So this is your data center, right? These are settings and permissions or users that would apply to all nodes more times than not. The PVE name, or whatever the node name is the specific device at which you installed Proxmox on. So this is looking at that 13060 Dell device that we installed Proxmox on specifically, not the whole data center or cluster, right? And then down here, we have the storage specifically for that node. So if we close that, we can see how it is associated with this one device. Now, before we install our first virtual machine, there's a couple things I want to do real quick. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down to updates, and then within updates, we're going to go to the repos. And in here, we can see you don't have an enterprise version. Well, that's okay. If we look down here, we can see these tags enterprise.proxmox, enterprise.proxmox. We can disable these because we're not going to use a description. And then we want to add right here a apt-get repository, right? This is going to go out and get updates for us. And if we click add, we can see this menu right here of a whole bunch of different options. We're going to click the no subscription option and click add. And we can see that is enabled now. You can see I did it 2 other times. I was just going through these steps before starting this video, but you would just have one right here. And then we can go back up to updates, right? And so under your node, updates, and we can do a refresh, and it will check for updates for you. So this is how you're going to update your Proxmox machine. I updated this early / we installed it earlier, so it's up to date, and I'll say task okay. There was no packages, but it reached out to these repositories to see if there was anything we needed to download. All right, so now that that is done, we can go down to our machine, our local ISO images, and there's 2 ways to do this. So you can upload a file and you can download a file directly to the machine. In the case of this series, I actually show you how to download it from the website and upload it. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it from a URL. So where do we get this URL to verify it? Well, specifically, we use Ubuntu, and this will be linked down below, but releases.ubuntu.com is where you will go. And then you can pick what version that you want to use. This does give you a little bit of a description of, hey, the LTS version will be supported for 10 years, the other version for 5, right? And so this is the LTS column, and then you can kind of pick which version you want to go with here based on further research you do online. So if I click on this middle one, the Jammy Jellyfish version, and I go down, we can see there's a couple things. The first thing specifically the one we want to grab is the .iso version, right? So you can see it's 4.4 gigs. It's more than likely going to be that's the desktop version. We don't want the desktop version. We want the server version, right? So 2 gigs roughly. As soon as I said 4 gigs, I was like, that's a little big. So we want the 2 gig version, and make sure you find, once again, the one that is a server install. So if you right click on this and you copy the link address, that's how you're going to get the URL. And then we can click query URL. And you will know it will have worked if you get a file name. If you don't get a file name, you know it didn't work. And when you try to click download, it wouldn't let you anyways. So what this is preventing you from doing is having to go to Ubuntu's website, download it to your computer, come back here, click the upload button, which is over here, and then re-uploading that same file, and then your server's going to have to download what you just downloaded on your computer to the server. This skips you completely and just downloads it directly onto Proxmox, especially if you're in an environment like an enterprise place where you don't have a laptop or whatever, and you might be directly accessing the server in a data center. You can just request this information and not have to worry about that logistically. So you can see this is downloading super quickly. And once this is done, come back to the video and we'll get on with actually setting up the virtual machine. All right, so this is done. We can see task okay, just like we saw with updates. That's a great indicator that what you were attempting to do successfully happened. And we can click done. And then when you're done with that, you don't need to be in any specific menu. As you can see actually up here, these blue buttons, create a VM or container, are always there. So we can click create a VM. And if you have more than one node, you would select this drop down menu and pick a node. You can also see the CPU and memory usage. You go, oh, I might not want to install it on this machine. I want to install it on a different machine. Because of that, you can pick VM ID. This will go in numerical order starting at 100, 101, blah, blah, blah. You can leave it the same. There's no reason to change that. This is just how Proxmox identifies different machines. And then name this whatever you want for the name of your machine. Normally we'd name this like Minecraft server, Zabbix, Pi DNS, whatever. So give it something descriptive that you'll know what this machine is. And then we're going to click next. And then we're going to pick an ISO image. So we can see it's right there. And that's what we were doing when we uploaded it. And this is where you will pick any of your operating systems that you want to run on the machine. Next, system defaults. You really don't need to touch anything in here unless you have a reason or no. This is where you will determine the size of the hard drive space that the virtual machine will have access to. This is super important. Some video games you're going to need more. Some things you're going to need way less than 32. You can go and read up and see how much may be required. This page specifically talks about, I can see you will need at least a gig of RAM to install this image, but I'm not seeing a certain amount of space. But I know like when you download the desktop version, I believe it recommends 30 or so. But that's just something to look into based on what you may need. I'm just going to leave it default. And then here's where you'll pick your core count, how many cores this machine will have access to. This is good to keep in mind, right, in a professional environment, because one of the things I'm trying to teach you hands-on in this course is how to do this correctly in the real world for a job. If your machine has 6 cores like mine does, across all your virtual machines, you wouldn't want to assign more than 6 cores because that's called overutilization, right? If every machine is using 100% capacity of their 2 cores at all 6, the whole entire CPU will be at 100% utilization, and that's bad. Now, for a home environment, let's say you have 10 machines running with 2 cores each. That's 20 cores, but your machine only has 16. So you've over um, allocated 14 cores. Well, are all 10 of your virtual machines running at 100%? Probably not. And I bet you more times than not, your machines are probably running at 10 or 20% or less. So you can you can give more cores to your virtual machines than your CPU physically has, to allow when a specific process is being used to have that capability to go up because the other machines aren't using it. So it gives you that flexibility. For example, if you have a game server and you have 10 friends on it, it might be using 4 or 5 gigs of RAM in both cores, but when it's the middle of the night and you guys are all sleeping, it's not using any of that. So just be aware of that depending on how you want to assign your cores. RAM, exact same philosophy. I'm just going to leave it at 2 gigs. Most things, unless it's like a game server, will probably be good with 1, 2, maybe 4 gigs. It really doesn't require a lot. But one thing to know, especially throughout this course, hosting things is RAM intensive, memory intensive, right? So the more RAM that you can have in a service, right, running services, the better. That is always going to be one thing you never have enough of, that you'll come to realize messing around and getting into this hobby. This is just the bridge. You can leave this by default. This is how your device is going to get internet access. And here is a list of settings. If you need to go back and change anything, you can based on these tabs. This gives you a brief overview of how to do that. And click finish. So we're going to give it just a second and we can see our machine popped up right here and it's not running yet. So we're going to click start up here on the top right and give it just a second. You can click this tab on the left, console, and we can see that now this is our little console client, right? This gives us a user interface to interact with this server before we set up SSH. And I'm just going to click enter to start this installation process. So let me go ahead and make this full screen. I wonder if I can zoom in. Maybe not. So I might zoom in this in post edit. We'll see, but this is a little bit bigger to hopefully allow you guys to read it. So once this is installed, unpause this video and come back and we'll get on to the next step. All right, so that actually didn't take long at all. And I'm just going to go through these settings real quick, but a lot of these are self-explanatory. Pick your language based on what you speak. And I'm just using enter, my arrow keys, and tab. So this is just asking if you want to use the new installer. We don't need to. Continue without. Once again, pick your keyboard layout variant, English, English, click enter. Ubuntu server, we can click that, that is fine. Click enter. We want to make sure that our device receives an IP address through our DHCP server, which is our OpenSense box. If you want to statically assign this, you can go in and do that if need be. Click enter. If this system requires a proxy to connect to the internet, enter those details. We are not going over proxies in this course, so we can click enter. And now this is just going to check the mirror location, right? So as this machine needs updates and you come back and you update your machines, this is verifying that it can reach those servers to do so. Okay. So I wasn't paying attention, but as soon as this goes, it says the mirror location pass test, reading package list test. You're good right there, and that's all you needed to do just to verify. Okay, and then right here we can see that we had Proxmox create a virtual disk, and this is showing that 32 gigs right there. And we are allowing this virtual machine to wipe these 32 gigs clean with this install. That's unique to a virtual machine. On a different or physical machine, you may need to be more considerate of where you're installing this Ubuntu server, and you could do that by clicking enter and then picking a machine. In our case, we only have one, so it doesn't show any other options. But we're just going to tab a couple times until we get down to the done button and click enter. Here we can see this is telling us the file system summary of how it's using that amount of space to partition the install. Click done. Selecting continue below, the installation process will start. We're going to click continue. And then your name here, this really can be generic. You don't need to put anything. I always just put our like a fake name, right? And then your server's name. This name is used to talk to other computers, and this is how it will be set on the network. So I actually would make this one more specific. Your Minecraft server, your Zabbix machine, whatever. First VM in our case, and then username, and then pick a password again, because this is what you're going to use to log in. So actually over here in my notes, I'm going to write this down so I don't forget. And then click back over here, and then, whoops. Let me retype this one. And then click tab and click done. All right, and then we can skip this for now. We're not going to use Ubuntu Pro. This is the most important slide ever of this whole part, right? Install an open SSH server. I'm going to do that by clicking enter, and then the X will fill that box, and we know it's going to install. This is going to allow us to log into it with Windows and copy and paste commands because you cannot paste very easily inside of the web GUI, and I just prefer to use the command line. Also in a professional environment, you're going to use the command line a lot to SSH into machines all across your business's network. So it's good to do it that way and learn and not become dependent on the graphical user interface, that GUI. We're going to click done. This is where you can actually install packages and services that are common that people use, like Nextcloud Server, which is one of the things we'll go over in our courses. But for us, for right now, we're not going to touch any of that. We're going to click done, and now this is going to start installing. So go ahead and pause this video and come back when yours is done. All right, so we can see the installation is complete, and I'm just going to click tab, reboot now. And click enter. So you're going to see failed. It's going to try to unmount a disk, but there's going to be nothing to unmount like a DVD drive in the real world because this is a virtual machine. And so by clicking enter, it will allow this machine to restart properly. And we're getting all those OKs showing that it is working and it was installed. And now when you get to a screen like this and it's just blinking, we can click enter and we are presented with the login screen. So if I type whoops, let me actually start that over because I mistype. Learn, and then type your password in. It will not show anything when you're typing. And then we can see there is this IP address of our server. So if we want to try to connect to this, I just clicked my Windows key and then typed CMD or command line, command prompt. That'll all work. And then in here, we're going to do SSH space our username, learn at the IP address 192.168.50.239 for this machine. And then do you want to continue? Yes. Password, type that in, click enter, and we're in this machine now. So we can see the same information, but right here in our command line, our CLI, right? And this is what we are going to work out of throughout this course when connecting to our machines in Proxmox to configure them. This is also what you're going to do in the real world. You might use something like SolarWinds or PuTTY, but if you're on Windows 11 or higher, it is built in automatically. So that is how you set up your first virtual machine. And then from here, you'll be able to install services or specific things that you're going to want to go over. That will be in the next video. Thank you for watching. This is LTH. My name is Abe, and I hope you guys subscribe for more.